Welcome to Massive Beers. My name is Matt. We do all kinds of beer stuff here. Collaborations. That's a big one. We do those quite often. Collaborations between a brewery and somebody outside the beer world. We do those every now and then. We did a Hot Butcher Minted with the Chocolatiers, and then there's a peat beer at some point. It happens from time to time. This one kind of intrigued me quite a bit. Victory and TastyKake. A match made in heaven, right? Yeah, this is TastyKake. It's their Coffee Cake Ale. Now, why does this intrigue me so much? Let me move my little thing there. That works better. It's a weird combination. That's why. Not a combination that I knee-jerky not gonna like. I love me Victory beers. I love me a coffee cake. The idea of this beer actually arriving at my doorstep made me go buy coffee cake. That's how much I enjoy it. But Victory, you know, if anything jumps to front of mind when I think of Victory, it's clean beer, crisp beer, precision beer. And for them to do a coffee cake ale, it's got me intrigued, because a brewery like that's just known for such just hyper precision. It's a cool concept. So yeah, I get emails quite a bit from different kind of promotional companies and media people from breweries and stuff like that quite a bit. And I don't ask, like, they were always like, hey, do you want some? And not that I don't say I don't want it. I'm just like, and I just never write. But this one, I actually reach out. I'm very intrigued about this. I want to give it a whirl. So here we go. Yeah, it's Victory. It's their TastyKake Coffee Cake Ale. Over here it says locally brewed and baked. This very tasty collaboration between Victory Brewing Company and TastyKake puts the delicious flavors of TastyKake Coffee Cake into sweet ale with notes of pound cake and cinnamon. Okay. I don't remember cinnamon. I don't think of cinnamon when I think of coffee cake. I could be wrong. I personally, growing up, I was mostly an E or a D coffee cake person, if that makes any sense to y'all. Seinfeld, the D word when it comes to coffee cakes. But TastyKake's Pennsylvania staple, so kind of makes sense they collabed with them. What do we have here? We have a Best Buy of June 7th, 2024. I got this. It's actually the 1st of January, so I assume this was bottled in December of 2024, or 2023. Downingtown, PA. Ale with natural flavors. Natural flavors. Bottle opener. Let's see where we end up. Anyway. So yeah, I'm just really curious to see where they go with this, because you can go so many different directions. Knee-jerk reaction is most breweries, new school breweries, stuff like that. I got a little bit of water in my glass. I think we'll be all right. Knee-jerk reaction is, go adjuncty crazy and let's make a desserty beer. I just don't see Victory doing that. That's why I'm super intrigued. Likewise, it's cool. It's what Victory does, and it's got TastyKake stuff going on, so we can get down with that. As far as the beer goes, does it look like a TastyKake ale? It looks like a golden ale, a rich, dark golden ale. They can go a bunch of different directions here. They can do a base, a brown ale, something like that. But I think a golden ale lets them be a little bit more... It gives them a little bit more room to massage the adjuncts. Because brown ale, you get a little bit more rich, roasty, nutty if you don't want it to lean in that direction. So it kind of makes sense. So it just has an off-white head, just this rich, clean color to this kind of darker than typical kind of golden ale. So yeah, looks the part. Almost looks like a Belgian triple as far as looks go. Let's put it that way. Let's get a nose. Okay. It smells kind of like a TastyKake, but in beer form. And that's where this was really kind of the thing that piqued my interest here. There's two different directions you can go with a lot of these adjuncts. You want to make the thing taste exactly like the thing, or do you want to make a beer that hints towards the flavors and bits and pieces you get from the thing? That's the direction I dig, and I think that's the direction they're going here. Did I call it ABV? It's 6%. If you can't tell by that huge 6% right there, and it does. It has this soft little confectionery thing going on. Nothing over the top. There's a soft little cinnamon again. Nothing over the top. Everything here is measured. Everything here isn't over the top. It smells like a desserty beer. It smells a bit confectionery, but there's nothing here that's just like gobs and gobs of sweetness on top of sweetness. If I'm really trying to pull, I get a nutty maltiness out of it. Done and done. But it smells quite nice. It doesn't smell like it's going to be overtly sweet, which is my kind of big fear when it comes to these kind of beers. So let's just dive right in. Cheers, y'all. Okay. That doesn't suck. There's a bitterness, there's a hop presence here, which is by far and away, like, I know you need hops to kind of balance off the sweetness of every beer pretty much to a certain extent. But there's just a nice little sharp little bitter in here that I did not expect. It actually, I think, makes this mean more beer than it typically would. And that's kind of like that reason why I was so intrigued by it being a victory beer. So first thing that jumps out at me is that bitterness. Rather generic, a little bit of green, a little bit of West Coast resinous, if I'm going to lean anywhere, but very, very light for this beer style, which is kind of a neutral beer style to let those adjuncts kind of play through. There's a nutty maltiness here, comes off very like hazelnut brownie as far as the beer goes. That's kind of the way the base kind of leans for me. And then you have the confectionery portion of the show, or the adjunct is probably a better way to put it, because there's that cinnamon spice, which isn't heavy-handed, but it's definitely there. You get it, but it's almost like that bitterness, it kind of merges with that, so it ends up being cool, almost like coal-like, in a fun way. And then there's this very soft confectionery portion of the show. This very, like, marshmallow lactose, but very gentle. Everything here is gentle. The probably most aggressive thing about the beer is the bitterness. But that's almost because it comes off as slightly shocking, I guess, with it being there, but in a good way. This is actually a really tasty beverage. And I want to kind of walk back that statement a little bit immediately. It's a really tasty beer. Because it is beer. And that's where this, again, my intrigued kind of victory portion of the show kind of comes in. These beers can be so much not your father's root beer. These can be so much some kind of, new school, goopy, fruited soury thing where there's really no beer involved. It just happens to be a grain fermented product that they can tack the word beer onto. This does have a beer. It is beer with those coffee cake-esque kind of flavors going on. And it leans into that, what I hoped it would be, which would be that we're kind of eliciting the idea of the response of a coffee cake as opposed to it just making it taste exactly like a coffee cake. And that's why I dig it. I really do. Am I going to buy a sixth of this? No. That's not where this beer lives. I don't think that's a thing. I'm sure it is for your tap counts and all that kind of fun stuff. But someone buys a sixth of this for their house and rips a keg of this. More power to you. You do you. I'm not going to yuck your yum. But at the same time, it's an interesting beer. And it's a really cool take from a brewery that does things ultra, I don't want to say traditional, because it's not that Victory can't do new school stuff. But they're clinical, precision, razor sharp, surgical when it comes to the kind of beers they make. And it kind of comes through in a beer that you wouldn't necessarily think that of. Coffee cake ale, it's goofy, it's funny. But there's nothing like, this beer's fun. It's not goofy, it's not, I don't want to call it serious, but you can tell that somebody who makes beer seriously brewed it. Now that I've drank it more, I'd say that hoppiness is just a touch of West Coast resinous with a decent amount of tannic tea-like vibes, which really does kind of almost like, I don't know if I'm making this up in my brain, but makes more sense when it comes to this beer. There's a fly in my... It's middle of winter. How is there a fly in here? Anyway, because I would eat these things with my mom with a cup of tea. I used to be a tea junkie, so that tannic herbal tea like kind of vibe from the hop just kind of makes sense. Maybe I'm just bringing it out. Maybe it's making me think of that, but it really does come off that way. So that cinnamon comes through, the confectionery comes through, the TastyKake portion comes through as a echo or as a homage or a tilt of the hat towards TastyKake without being this overt confectionery thing. And you have this nice kind of nutty malt, again, think like hazelnut brown kind of vibes to it, with with this bittering from the hop that is slightly West Coast with a decent herbal characteristic that reminds you of tea, which makes sense in my brain for a fun beer. It's a fun beer. Who would have thunk it? Beer can be fun. It doesn't have to be serious all the time. And I like it. I like it. Listen, they sent me a whole sixer. This is going to go down. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm going to be pawning these off on people. There's breweries send me sixers, and I'm like, hey, you want one of these? Just I'm curious to see what other people think. But at the same time, sometimes you get stuff from a brewery, and you're like, that's kind of fun, and I dig that. And I kind of want to drink a couple of these over the course of a week or two and just see where my mindset goes with it. But it's a really fun beer. I like it. I think it's fun. Done and done. Is this, let's cut to the chase, is this one of the better coffee cake beers that I've ever had in my life? It's number one. Because it's the only one I've ever had. Is it a fun adjunct? Confectionery, desserty? Because it's not even really desserty because of the bittering. Listen, is it one of the more interesting beers I've had as of late? Yes. Mount Rushmore status, probably not, but it's fun and I dig it. I like it. I think it's a cool mashup. Let's put it that way. Value and availability on the sucker. I don't know. I think it's hitting certain. I actually do know. Who told me about this? Albert Gattulo from Craft Beer Cast in New Jersey. He does a radio show. When I did an unboxing, he mentioned it was select accounts, tri-state area, up until April. I think it might be available. If that's correct, hopefully it is. Obviously in Pennsylvania, you probably have a better chance of getting this than anywhere else, but it is what it is. And leave you with it if you like you like this. If you like beer, but you're also not too stuffy to not enjoy some fun beer, you'll dig this. There you go. Review in the books. Hopefully you enjoyed. Victory in TastyKake. Have you had a bunch of Victory beers? Have you had your fair share of TastyKake Coffee Cake? What Coffee Cake team are you on? Are you on TastyKake? Are you on Team E? Are you on Team D? Hopefully you know what I mean by that. Or are you on a mom and pop coffee cake team? That's what I ended up picking up. Mom and pop coffee cake. All that fun stuff. We can talk about that down there. Along with Victory. What do you think about their beers? What's your favorite beer from Victory? Pills. Come on. Anyway. It could be a bunch of different beers. Oak Torzano. Anyway, have you had this from Victory? If you had, really curious to see what you think. All that fun stuff down there. Hopefully you enjoyed the review. Hopefully you're enjoying a little TastyKake jam right now. We'll see you next time. Cheers, y'all.